Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Battle Through the Heavens Part 264 based on novel. So let's start. Heavenly Tomb. A huge square floated in the sky while 100,000 feet large stone statue stood on it. A faint pressure enveloped the entire heavenly tomb, causing the many spiritual bodies within it to feel a horror that originated from within their souls. Xiao Yan stood on the square. His eyes looked at the incomparably large ancient god stone statue in front of him. He inhaled a deep breath of air before respectfully bowing towards the stone statue. After which, his body slowly rose into the air. Finally, he paused at the hole on the chest of the stone statue. The surface of the hole was filled with a water ripple-like faint luster. This light might appear weak, but Xiao Yan did not dare to slight it. This was because this seemingly weak light had easily pressed experts like Ji Yuan and Xu Kun onto their knees earlier. Little Yi had also flashed and appeared on Xiao Yan's shoulder at this moment. Purifying demonic lotus flame surged and wrapped around his body. Success or defeat will be determined by this, Xiao Yan muttered. A determined expression rose on his face as he stepped forward and directly strided into the stone hole. Xiao Yan penetrated through the weak light. He could clearly sense a kind of probing sweeping past the surface of his body. Everything within his body, including even his soul, could not escape from this inspection. This feeling was as though all of his secret had been exposed at this moment. Although Xiao Yan was being carefully scanned, it was fortunate that the light did not display any rejection against Xiao Yan. Suddenly, Xiao Yan's eyes became dazzled. A giddy feeling was emitted from within his mind. This giddiness lasted for a moment. After Xiao Yan finally recovered, he suddenly discovered that the surrounding environment had undergone a drastic change. Brilliant flames filled his eyes. Undoubtedly, this was a sea of fire. Moreover, the sea of fire was extremely colorful. It was so bright that it caused one to be amazed. Heavenly flame, see her. Xiao Yan lowered his body. His hand gently grabbed at a purple flame, which had appeared. A familiar feeling rose into his heart as he involuntarily muttered, 3,000 burning flame. Xiao Yan opened his stride and walked into this sea of fire, where many different heavenly flames had gathered. While he walked, these flames began to cluster around him. Their manner was as though they had great affinity with him. It seems that your constitution is greatly welcomed by the heavenly flames. Xiao Yan was slowly walking when an elderly voice, which contained some laughter, suddenly resounded over this sea of fire. This sudden voice caused Xiao Yan to be slightly startled. He hurriedly lifted his head and looked at a sea of fire a short distance away. Flames had gathered on that spot. It turned into a huge flame bud that slowly bloomed. An elderly figure in deep-colored robe appeared in Xiao Yan's eyes. The elderly figure was wearing a deep-colored robe. His expression did not reveal any uniqueness. If one was to ignore his multicolored bright hair, he would appear little different from those ordinary elders. At this moment, the old man was seated within a flower bud. His elderly face wore an unknown smile as he stared at Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan had already seen this figure many times. However, those whom he had met were either an illusory figure or a fake. This time around, however, Xiao Yan understood in his heart that this was the true Tushi ancient god. Perhaps this might merely be a remnant shadow or a soul fragment, but regardless of what the case was, this person was the legendary last elite Dodi on the Dochi continent. This junior Xiao Yan greets elder ancient god. Xiao Yan suppressed the shock within his heart. He respectfully gave the old man seated in the flower bud a bow of someone from the younger generation. It seems that the mansion that I have left behind has been opened. Tushi ancient god smiled faintly. He waved his hand and the sea of flame in front of him rose to form a fire flower bud. Sit. Xiao Yan did not put up any act upon hearing this. His body flashed and he sat down in that fire flower bud. Xiao Yan felt emotion surging in his heart now that he was observing this legendary person at such a close proximity. Only at this moment did he realize that the brilliant long hair of the Tushi ancient god actually had faint fire seedlings rising from it. Immediately, he came to a comprehension. Shukoan had mentioned that the Tushi ancient god was a heavenly flame to begin with. He had only evolved after devouring the other 21 types of heavenly flames on the heavenly flame ranking. Subsequently, he trained for an extremely long period of time before reaching the Do-D class. After Xiao Yan roughly glanced at the number of colors on those long hair, he discovered that there were coincidentally 21 of them. Has there been any new Do-Di appearing on the current Do-Chi continent? The Tushi ancient god looked at Xiao Yan as he smilingly inquired. Elder is the last elite Do-Di on the Do-Chi continent until now. No elite Do-Di had appeared after you. Xiao Yan hesitated for a moment before replying. As expected, the Tushi ancient god was not overly surprised at this reply. Instead, he nodded gently. Is Elder aware of the reason for this? I have once heard my ancestor say that the current Do-Chi continent seems to have a missing mysterious energy as compared to the ancient times. Xiao Yan could not resist his curiosity as he asked. Ha ha, your ancestor is rather capable. He is actually able to discover this. The Tushi ancient god was a little startled upon hearing this. He laughed. This is indeed the case. With the flow of time, the current Do-Chi continent had begun to lack something. This is the critical factor in advancing to the Do-Di class. Otherwise, regardless of how outstanding one's talent is, one could only stop before the sky. What is missing? Xiao Yang frowned and softly asked. Origin. The Tushi ancient god gently uttered a seemingly deep and unfathomable word. Origin. During the ancient times, some experts refer to this thing as origin chi. This is a mysterious energy that was formed with the world. Only after absorbing the origin chi will one be able to successfully break through the barrier to the Do-Di class. The Tushi ancient god nodded slightly and replied. Every plane would have some origin chi being formed when it was created. However, origin chi cannot be created again. In other words, every origin chi exhausted would lead to it being diminished in this world. Elite Do-Di is an existence that surpassed this world. The birth of every Do-Di would greatly exhaust quite a lot of origin chi. In the face of this expenditure without replenishment, it would eventually reach a point where nothing remains. This is the reason why the Do-Chi continent no longer produces any Do-Di. This is because the current Do-Chi continent no longer has any origin chi. Xiao Yan laughed bitterly. This was indeed the case of the predecessors enjoying and the descendants suffering. The so-called origin chi had been completely exhausted by the ancient people. This had resulted in some problems that had to be borne by the subsequent generation. Someone has already obtained the D-tier embryonic pill that Elder has left behind. Currently, that person is engaging in a massacre and forcefully extracting energy in order to complete that D-tier embryonic pill. Xiao Yan laughed bitterly before refocusing on the main topic. No matter what had happened in the past, the thing that he needed to consider now was how to advance into the Do-Di class and stop Hunchindi. The D-tier embryonic pill contains a trace of origin chi. If that person is really able to complete the final step, it would not be impossible for him to advance into the Do-Di class. The Tushi ancient god laughed. He immediately looked at Xiao Yang and said, I am aware of your motive in coming here. Xiao Yang's expression was grave. He cupped his hands together and said, I hope that Elsa will aid me. This could be considered a great calamity of the Do-Chi continent. I am not really interested about whether there is a calamity or otherwise. You should perhaps be aware of my identity, the Tushi ancient god laughed. However, since you are able to come to this place, you are naturally the most suitable person to inherit my inheritance. If you can. Elder, thank you for your favor. Xiao Yang rejoiced. Ha ha. Tushi ancient god smiled and waved his hand. He suddenly beckoned Xiao Yang. A cluster of pink flame immediately rose from within the latter's body. Finally, it turned into a fire baby as it appeared in the former's hand. It was Little Yi. Purifying demonic lotus flame, it has been a long time since we have met. The Tushi ancient god looked at Little Yi in his hand. He laughed softly and said. Little Yi's small face contained an iciness and hatred as it stared at the Tushi ancient god. However, it did not say anything. There was a lost expression flashing over its small face. From the looks of it, it appeared to be unable to clearly remember the distant past. The only thing that it knew was that his feelings towards this person in its heart was a mixture of fear and complicated emotions. It looks like you still hate me greatly. Tuoshi ancient god was unconcerned about the emotion in little Yi's eyes. He turned his eyes towards Xiao Yan and said, "There is a feeling that I am familiar within your body. If I guess correctly, you should have practiced a mysterious chi method that can devour heavenly flames, right?" Xiao Yang was startled. Immediately, he understood that it was impossible to keep any secret in front of this person's eyes. Subsequently, he nodded quietly. "That chi method is not bad. Back then, I only managed to achieve my future success because of it." Tuoshi ancient god laughed. "Elder is actually the creator of the flame mantra." Xiao Yang's expression was slightly altered. It was unexpected that the mysterious chi method was actually created by Tuoshi ancient god. However, this did make sense. Only such a person could create this mysterious chi method. "Ha ha, you have guessed wrongly. The flame mantra that you spoke of is not created by me. When my soul and intelligence was formed back then, I had coincidentally found this chi method in my lost state. This had resulted in me undergoing some changes. Come to think of it, this chi method had been of a great help to me. I am also quite curious about its creator. However, I have never met him." Tuoshi ancient god laughed. "It is really difficult when pondering one's fate. Perhaps the both of us could be barely considered to be from the same sect." Xiao Yang widened his mouth. His heart was extremely shaken. It was unexpected that the flame mantra actually had such a relation to the Tuoshi ancient god. However, he was unaware of just what kind of outstanding person the creator of this unbelievable chi method was to create it. "Ha ha, it has been many years since I have talked to someone. I have spoken a lot of unnecessary things today." The Tuoshi ancient god flicked his finger gently. The endless brilliant sea of fire suddenly shook. Finally, a fire dragon surged and agglomerated into a fist-sized brilliant lotus. Many fire seedling rose on the surface of the lotus. "My inheritance is in this place. Whether you can reach the Do Di class depends on your own fate." An excited expression involuntarily surged into Xiao Yang's eyes as he looked at the brilliant lotus floating on the sea of fire. There was no longer any of the so-called origin chi remaining in the current Do Chi continent. This meant that there would no longer be anyone who could advance into the Do Di class. Hunchindi had obtained the D-tier embryonic pill. This had given him the opportunity to step into the Do Di class. The only hope of Xiao Yang and the Alliance army was this ancient god inheritance. There was only 2 ways remaining to advance into the Do Di class in the current continent. This was because only the D-tier embryonic pill and the ancient god inheritance contained the 2 remaining origin chi in this world. My inheritance requires one to have a stone-like heart. As long as a single thread of thought exists, one would never be destroyed. The Tuoshi ancient god looked at the excited Xiao Yang. He smiled faintly and flicked his finger. That brilliant flame lotus slowly landed. Finally, it was suspended above Xiao Yang's head. Xiao Yang inhaled a deep breath of air. He quickly calmed himself. All distractions had been eliminated with his determination. The fire lotus emitted a strange luster. After which, it slowly descended and directly penetrated through Xiao Yang's skin and landed inside his mind. Bang! Xiao Yang's body immediately turned red after the fire lotus entered. A terrifying endless energy that caused one to be stunned spread within his body at a terrifying speed. In the blink of an eye, the veins within Xiao Yang's body had swelled. An intense pain spread throughout his meridians. Perspiration fell crazily out of the pores of Xiao Yang's body like a stream. His body had also shrunk many times within a short instant. That originally skinny body of his had become just like a monkey with skin over his bones. Pain covered Xiao Yang's face as his perspiration fell like a waterfall. That intense pain caused his face to become a little distorted. The Tuoshi ancient god watched this scene. His expression was calm. If Xiao Yang was unable to even endure through this initial stage, Receiving the inheritance would be nothing but a joke. Xiao Yan's body was shrinking wildly within the sea of fire. Both of his eyes were suddenly opened at this moment. His eyes had exploded into a cluster of bloody fog. Bang! Both eyes burst apart. Soon after, explosions were emitted from all over Xiao Yan's body. Subsequently, his body was directly exploded because of the terrifying strength from the inheritance. The Tushi ancient god twitched his brow slightly upon seeing this. Now was the moment that the inheritance had begun. However, if Xiao Yan was unable to do as he said, the inheritance would not only be a failure but both Xiao Yan's physical body and soul would also suffer an extremely serious injury. Have I failed? Xiao Yan's soul looked at the blood void that spread. He could sense a weak feeling spreading from deep within his soul. That feeling gave him an impulse to fall into a giddy slumber. However, this impulse had only just appeared when Xiao Yan suddenly woke up. He was aware that he was currently at an extremely dangerous moment. If he was to simply fall into a slumber, even his soul would gradually scatter in the world. My physical body is too weak. I am unable to endure the strength of the inheritance. However, now that my physical body is destroyed, how can I absorb the energy? Xiao Yan's soul agglomerated into a transparent light cluster. He was currently in a difficult position. Without a physical body, he was unable to absorb the inheritance energy. However, refining a physical body required many complicated steps. Where would he find the time to refine a physical body now? A heart like a stone. As long as a single thread of thought exists, one would never be destroyed. The soul-like cluster flickered wildly. At this critical moment, however, Xiao Yan's somewhat anxious heart had begun to calm down. His mind recalled the words that the Tushi ancient god had mentioned earlier and came to a comprehension. The soul-like cluster he had turned into suddenly flickered intensely as his heart came to a comprehension. There was a brilliant light shooting out from within his soul. If one was to look carefully, one would find that it was surprisingly that fire lotus seed. After this brilliant light shot out, the blood fog that originally scattered suddenly began to shrink in a strange manner. After which, a mysterious scene appeared. One could see the blood fog gathering rapidly and enveloping around the soul-like cluster. Within a short moment, it had once again formed a living physical body. Xiao Yan rejoiced in his heart after the physical body was formed. He could sense that the physical body he had formed this time around was actually much stronger than earlier. Creation amidst destruction. Continuously creating a new physical body to adapt to the inheritance strength. Xiao Yan's eyes flickered. An excited expression vaguely flashed across them. However, this excitement did not continue for long before the flame lotus once again emitted a terrifying strength which could cause the entire world to tremble. Bang! The physical body that Xiao Yan had just formed had once again exploded into a bloody fog under the assault of the energy. This time around, even his soul itself felt an intense pain. A heart as firm as stone and one will never be destroyed. Xiao Yan did not panic after having already comprehended the situation in his heart. He focused his mind and did not allow any distractions to appear. The blood fog that exploded once again gathered as Xiao Yan's mind and soul remained focused. In the blink of an eye, it had once again formed an even stronger new physical body. Boom boom boom. A continuous stream of low and deep sound appeared within the sea of fire. Xiao Yan's body continued to be agglomerate and explode in a repeated manner. It was as though a perfect cycle had been formed. A smile rose on the Tushi ancient god's face as he watched this scene. He nodded gently. This lad's comprehension was quite good. No wonder he was able to reach such a stage at a young age. Moreover, the most valuable aspect was that rock-like determination and perseverance. It looks like my mission is going to come to an end soon. The Tushi ancient god smiled. His tone contained a faint feeling of being freed. Time flew by amidst the training. Without realizing it, a year had swiftly passed. Xiao Yan had experienced countless number of destructions and rebirth during this 1 year. In the face of this cycle, even Xiao Yan's mind had become giddy despite his perseverance. Only that remaining thought of his firmly guarded his soul. This single desire drove his physical body to gradually adapt to the inherent strength amidst the countless number of destruction. However, there was still no end in sight amidst the bitter training. Self-destruction and rebirth continued on its endless cycle. 1 year within the heavenly tomb was over 2 months to the Dochi continent. During these 2 months, the central plains experienced an extreme fluctuation. The formation that was placed by the Hun clan covered the entire central plains. This has resulted in the central plains become a place of death that one could not exit from. The originally azure sky was currently covered by a thick layer of blood cloud. Sunlight penetrated through the blood cloud and shone onto the land. A dark luster shot out, causing one to feel incomparably pressured. A bloody scent enveloped every corner of the central plains. Occasionally, many blood light would shoot out from the blood cloud covering the central plains. Corpses lay wherever the blood light passed and blood flowed like river. This was a genuine calamity. Faced with this action from the Hun clan, countless factions and sects appeared extremely furious initially. However, this fury had gradually turned into horror after they gathered together and attacked the formation, only to end up with most of them being killed by the bloodlight that seemed to penetrate the world. Only at this moment did they understand just how vicious and powerful the methods of the Hun clan was. Faced with the bloodlight that would occasionally descend on them and cause blood to flow over the land, many sects and factions had no choice but to shift themselves. Their destination was naturally the headquarters of the SK Mansion Alliance. At this moment, only the area around the Sky Mansion Alliance headquarters within the Central Plains could resist the erosion of those bloodlight. Hence, within less than a month, the area within tens of thousands kilometers of the Sky Mansion Alliance was occupied by countless people. Every corner was filled with black masses of people. The entire Central Plains had descended into chaos at this moment. The Alliance was helpless in the faces of these factions that had hurried over to seek protection. All they could do was to join hands with many experts to unleash a huge defensive barrier that covered a 5,000-kilometer radius around the Sky Mansion Alliance. Despite this being the case, this defensive barrier still seemed to provide an inadequate space. Many factions had no choice but to engage in a conflict with the other factions in order to maintain their safe area. They even fought with each other, resulting in many deaths and injuries. However, the Alliance army was unable to intervene in this matter. It was already the limit of the Alliance army to perform so much. Order was completely absent under the threat of death. While they were defending, Xiao Yan, Jukuan and the others from the Alliance army had also tried cooperating to stop Hunchindi from using all the lives in this world to complete the DI-tier medicinal pill. However, they ended up returning in failure. How could it be so easy to destroy a formation that had absorbed blood and chi from countless of lives and guarded by Hunchindi? Following the flow of time, the originally flourishing Central Plains was covered in desolation. At a glance, it was as though doomsday had arrived. With more time passing, everyone felt increasingly hopeless as they saw the aura within the blood cloud becoming increasingly fierce and monstrous. All of them understood that the moment that the demon came out from the blood cloud would be the moment when the Central Plains would come to an end. No one was able to stop this situation. The only thing that they could do was to simply watch as the bloody aura in the air became denser. The blood cloud covering the sun, calamity descends on the Central Plains. All life ceased to exist in the face of this calamity. The blood cloud covered the Central Plains for 3 months. However, it did not show any signs of weakening. During these 3 months, the prosperous and lively Central Plains had become unusually messy and desolated. Everyone were in panic as they searched for safe places to hide. Many had even ventured underground in hopes that doing so would allow them to hide from this calamity. Thick blood cloud covered the sky above the Central Plains. Dense revolting bloody stench permeated the air. The land was bright red. Viscous blood dyed the Central Plains until it became like the land of the demons. Dense white bone drifted within the sea of blood. There appeared to be countless sharp screeches reverberating within the sky, causing one's paws to stand. Such a massacre was extremely rare even in the history of the Dochi continent. After all, regardless of what kind of big battle erupted, an ordinary person would most likely not intervene. However, the Hun clan could be considered extremely heartless this time around. Their massacre would not stop because of anyone's identity. Many people became increasingly hopeless in their hearts as they looked at the blood cloud in the sky, which left one's heart cold. With more time passing by, the energy gathered within the formation became increasingly terrifying. Everyone knew that once Hunchindi broke out from his retreat, no one in this world would be able to stop him. The entire land was covered by death and darkness. The despair caused one to tremble despite not feeling cold. Sky Mansion Alliance headquarters. Many figures stood on a tall stage. Their eyes contained a gloominess as it penetrated through the huge defensive barrier in the sky. Finally, they looked at the blood cloud permeating the sky. Hunchindi's aura is becoming increasingly strong. I can sense that he is about to succeed. The pressure and silence continued for a moment before Shu Kuan slowly spoke. The hearts of the few people beside him involuntarily sunk upon hearing his words. Don't tell me that we are simply just going to watch him complete the final step. Lei Ying clenched his teeth. His voice had some grievance that could not be described. They were just like tortoises during this period of time. All of them had shrunk into the defensive barrier. This kind of feeling was considered a kind of torture towards his somewhat fiery hot temper. The formation has been formed. Just the energy gathered within the blood cloud is sufficient to give us trouble. There is no need to even talk about charging inside and engage in a life and death battle with Hunchindi. Ji Yuan shook his head. There was a rich helpless feeling within his eyes. The strength of Hunchindi was no longer something that they could compare with. They might be able to temporarily maintain his body. It was quite a difficult thing. It was really wishful in thinking of attack now. Hearing this, everyone's fists were involuntarily clenched. Even they were felt a little hopeless in the face of this situation. Even less needed to speak of the others. The area around the alliance was also filled with conflict. Those factions which had come to seek protection began to fight each other in order to occupy a safe position. Yang Jin sighed softly. These useless trash. Back then, they were simply idling by the side when we are fighting with the Hun clan. Now that they have tasted the bitter pill, they actually dare come to seek our protection. Lei Ying cried furiously. Everyone smiled bitterly. Where would these factions find the courage to participate in the war between the Alliance army and the Hun clan? There is no need to be overly pessimistic. We still have some hope. Ji Yuan braced his attention, smiled and said. Everyone appeared to have recalled the final hope upon hearing this. Light surged within their eyes. Indeed, they still had some hope. Now, all we can do is pray that Xiao Yan will be able to successfully accept the ancient god inheritance. That is the only way for us to turn things around, otherwise, this Central Plains will really be finished. The skinny young man's image floated in his mind as Ji Yuan spoke softly. However, I do believe that he will show us a miracle. It is naturally for the best if that is the case. It seemed as though Ji Yuan's words were infectious. The originally tensed group relaxed slightly. A smile appeared on their faces. Time slowly passed amidst the horror and hopelessness of countless individuals. The blood cloud that enveloped the sky created such a pressure that one had the impulse to become mad. 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, half a year. The blood cloud in the sky became increasingly deep and solemn. At the same time, they also became increasingly thick. At times, even the sunlight had difficulty penetrating. An increasing number of blood light swept across the sky during this period of time. The surge of each blood light would be accompanied by a bloody scent that rose to the sky. However, with an increasing number of people swarming into the defense barrier that the Sky Mansion Alliance had placed, some of the terrifying blood light gradually changed their target. At the end, they even began to smash onto the defensive barrier. Fortunately, there were many powerful individuals in the alliance. Hence, stabilizing this defensive barrier did not pose much of a problem. Of course, each time the blood light charged towards the defensive barrier, it naturally caused many to panic. After all, the only protection everyone had was the defensive barrier in the sky. Once this defensive barrier was broken, they would become a member of the corpses that covered the land. Half a year slowly passed while countless number of individuals were feeling terrified. No overly great earth-shaking big battle erupted during this half a year. However, the pressurizing bloody stench was a much greater cause of craziness compared to any big battle. The blood cloud merely covered half of the central plains during this half a month's time. No experts from the Hun clan appeared. Even Hunchindi's voice did not appear in the sky. However, the fierce and monstrous aura from the Sea of Blood was becoming increasingly terrifying with the flow of time. On the 7th month after the formation covered the whole of the central plains, the Sea of Blood in the distant sky finally revealed some ripples. The Sea of Blood churned. A whirlpool appeared within the Sea of Blood. After which, a huge blood-colored lotus slowly rose from the Sea of Blood. A figure was seated on the blood lotus. Blood-colored hair fell like a waterfall. Some even fell into the Sea of Blood. The figure floated on the Sea of Blood like a demon spreading its wings. A strength that leaves one intoxicated. The human figure's tightly shut eyes were slowly opened. The scarlet color that filled it caused huge waves to rise within the Sea of Blood. The space behind Hunchindi became distorted when he opened his eyes. A human figure covered in black flames appeared. Those descendant citizens from the Ling, Shi, and Yao clans had all been thrown into the blood pool. 60 to 70% of the descendant citizens from the Hun clan has also been thrown in. However, this had led to much dissatisfaction. The Nihility devouring flame looked at the human figure whose hair had turned into the color of blood, and said. Those blood eyes of Hunchindi fluctuated slightly. He laughed softly. The blood lotus was rotated and he looked directly at the Nihility devouring flame. The black flame in the eyes of the Nihility devouring flame leaped after he was being watched by Hunchindi. He asked in a faint voice, "What is the matter?" There seems to be something extra mixed within the energy of the Sea of Blood. Hunchindi laughed. Oh. The black flame within the eyes of the Nihility devouring flame withered intensely. Hunchindi was full of smiles. His hand was suddenly extended into the Sea of Blood in front of him. After which, he grabbed violently. The entire Sea of Blood began to churn. Subsequently, traces of black light agglomerated in his palm. Finally, it transformed into a cluster of black flame. If I were to absorb these energy into my body, a devouring seed would likely have been planted right. Hunchindi smiled as he looked at the cluster of black flame. After which, he faced the Nihility devouring flame and said, "It looks like you aren't loyal to me. You have forced me to do this." Fierce light suddenly shot out from the eyes of the Nihility devouring flame. Both of his hands suddenly pressed on the Sea of Blood. A ripple was emitted. Soon after, the Sea of Blood fluctuated. Endless black flame spread from it and crazily erupted towards Hunchindi. Attack! The Nihility devouring flame suddenly let out a stern cry when the Nihility devouring flame attacked. One could see the surrounding space fluctuate. Dozens of figures appeared. They hesitated for a moment before widening their mouths and spat out a cluster of dense black flame. These black flames swiftly gathered. Finally, they turned into a strange array on the Sea of Blood. They subsequently covered Hunchindi. "Ha ha, it looks like you have quietly schemed during these years. These elders have actually been unknowingly controlled by you." Hunchindi spoke with some surprise after seeing these familiar figures. "Humph. Forget about these elders. Most of the clan members of the Hun clan have a bloodline seal that I have placed within their bodies. Hunchindi, do you really think that I am unprepared? With just a thought of mine, your Hun clan will suffer serious losses." The Nihility devouring flame laughed coldly. "Originally, I would not have swapped to this. However, you actually planned to kill me. You cannot blame me for acting first. Suffer serious loss?" Hunchindi shook his head. The expression in his eyes suddenly became dark and dense. "As long as I am around, the Hun clan will never end up suffering serious losses. Your current self can also forget about fighting me. That is merely suicidal." Hunchindi suddenly stood up from the blood lotus. He laughed out loud towards the sky. His mouth widened immediately and a suction force erupted. That black flame array covering him was turned into a line of fire that was swallowed by him. An aura that seemed to surpass this world suddenly surged out from within Hunchindi's body as he attacked. Immediately, a giant wave rose from this endless sea of blood. Bang bang bang. The sea of blood below those dozens of elders from the Hun clan surged. Finally, they were wrapped by blood bubbles. Those blood bubbles were shrunk violently and one was able to hear many muffled sound appearing. Their bodies were exploded into splutters of blood that merged into the sea of blood. These experts from the Hun clan did not even have the opportunity to react before they were directly killed by Hunchindi. You have already succeeded? The nihility devouring flame finally paled from shock after sensing the vast and mighty aura that surpassed the world. I have succeeded for half a month and I was merely waiting for you. Hunchindi licked his bright red lips. His palm was aimed at the nihility devouring flame before grabbing gently. In order to congratulate me on successfully becoming the first elite DoD in 10,000 years, please hand me your essence flame. Hunchindi, the lives of those clan members of the Hun clan can be taken by me with just a thought. Do not blame me for being ruthless if you dare attack. The nihility devouring flame roared. Hunchindi paused momentarily upon hearing this. He turned his head and looked at the nihility devouring flame with a strange expression. He said, "You have been with me for such a long time. Don't tell me that you are unaware of my character." The nihility devouring flame felt his heart becoming cold. This fellow was willing to pay any price in order to achieve his aim, even if the price was the entire Hun clan. Come over. Just as the nihility devouring flame had comprehended this and planned to flee, however, he was shocked to discover that his body was no longer able to move. Explode. Hunchindi wore a smile. He gently aimed and clenched his hand at the nihility devouring flame. The latter's body exploded apart. It turned into black flames that permeated the sky as it crazily flared in all directions. Hunchindi glanced at the fleeing black flame. He widened his mouth and a suction force erupted. The many black flames swiftly flew backwards and entered into his mouth. Your present strength is just like an ant in my eyes. Hunchindi elegantly rubbed the corner of his mouth with the back of his hand after easily swallowing the nihility devouring flame into his body. His scarlet lips appeared extremely evil. Now, it seems that I should head over and finish off those troublesome fellows. Hunchindi's eyes were thrown towards the land. A strange smile surfaced on his face. At the same time, a voice which contained an endless bloodthirstiness resounded over the central plains in a vast and mighty fashion. Remember that today is the day that I, Hunchindi, has gained the title of a god. This video will end here.